Utahns share a heritage of planning for the future. Within 3 days of entering these valleys, Utah's pioneers envisioned a community plan that has lasted for generations and resulted in a quality of life worth preserving. From Camas to Grantsville, from Brigham City to Nephi, we all breathe the same air, share common water resources, and use the same roads. Mountains, lakes, deserts, and federal lands are natural barriers that prevent how and where communities can grow. By 2020, an additional 1 million people are going to call Utah home. 2/3 of these residents will be our children and grandchildren.
What we can do to ensure that they have a good quality of life in the future is to make sure that they have choices then that perhaps we don't today.
In 1996, the Coalition for Utah's Future created a public-private partnership called Envision Utah. Its purpose? To initiate a dialogue among residents on growth patterns within 10 counties of the greater Wasatch area.
We looked at both the successes and mistakes of other metropolitan areas. As we did this, we discovered that cities and regions who had banded together to create some sort of community vision had been able to deal with growth in a manner most pleasing to its residents.
Research and public involvement has allowed Envision Utah to develop 4 scenarios outlining plans to accommodate population growth, but at the same time maintain our environment, economic strength, and quality of life. Each scenario offers choices, from maintaining current trends to developing more extensively in existing urban areas. The quality growth strategy was crafted by analyzing the preferences of 18,000 citizens and released to the public on November 15, 1999.
I think this was an education process, a very smart, astute implementation of helping the people understand the issues that face them.
Let's assume that things will change and that our options are to either direct that course or to let it happen. So my challenge to you today is to go back and dig in, ask the tough questions, work together, and let's listen to each other.
What has made the Envision Utah process so unique and so successful is the fact that we are made up of many stakeholders representing diverse opinions in different parts of our community and our economy.
The quality growth strategy relies on local implementation and regional coordination to enhance air quality, increase mobility and transportation choices, preserve critical lands, conserve water resources, provide more housing options, and maximize infrastructure investments. Implementation of the strategy preserves 171 square miles of undeveloped land, reduces traffic congestion by 12% and auto emissions by 7%, preserves 160 miles of agricultural land, and saves $4.5 billion in infrastructure costs over 20 years. Envision Utah facilitates change through education and local decision-making. A California organization is just one group among many throughout the United States wanting to emulate the Envision Utah approach.
Public engagement and education.
Public engagement and education. She gets it. Involve everyone. Messiness. I heard carrots, not sticks. Takes a long time. Another thing I heard was common ground for common good.
Focus on the process, not the product.
Focus on, as that Zen Mormonism again. Focus on the process, not the product.
In 1999, Envision Utah met with 89 city councils and county commissions to determine how to maintain the unique character of their growing communities. With this feedback, Envision Utah worked with local and national experts to design the tools these leaders required.
I believe that what strategies one community chooses won't necessarily be the strategies another chooses. This is not a one-size-fits-all kind of recommendation as I read it. There's plenty of flexibility and opportunity for each of us to figure out our own destiny.
And it certainly is a challenge for Envision Utah to work with 90 cities and towns and 10 counties in the greater Wasatch area. So obviously, we need each of you to help in your area of influence.
Whenever a new vision runs up against traditional ways of doing things, including NIMBY, the not in my backyard phenomenon, then courage, tenacity, and education are necessary if change is to occur.
In 2000, Envision Utah began providing free planning resources to communities and has trained more than 2,700 local officials, developers, realtors, and others. Educational forums provide specialized information to assist community leaders in their quality growth efforts.
I've always advised Envision Utah to protect private property rights, and I think we've about got it right with our educational tools, voluntary implementation, and additional zoning choices for local governments.
The message for the average Utahn is to get involved at the community level, exert your influence on the Planning Commission and City Council where you live, fight for these kinds of concepts where we have quality growth that preserves the value, the open space, the flavor of your community.
Envision Utah continues to bring major public and private stakeholders together to deal with growth issues at the sub-regional and local level. Through its grassroots process, Envision Utah bridges the traditional environment-development divide.
It is the case that all of us want better air quality. It is the case that all of us want better transportation choices. It is the case we all want less crime. It is the case we all want more affordable housing. So what we do is begin to define this point on the horizon that we can all begin to steer toward.
Envision Utah sponsors demonstration projects to show the power of cooperation between communities working together to solve regional issues. In 9 Davis County communities along the Great Salt Lake, city officials, landowners, residents, and stakeholders created a workable plan to balance conservation and development concerns. Other quality growth demonstration projects are currently underway. Envision Utah is facilitating growth scenarios for the Mountain View Transportation Corridor, working to ensure meaningful involvement from the stakeholder groups and citizens of the 16 cities along the route. The corridor stretches 40 miles through western Salt Lake County and northern Utah County. The development of a region-wide transportation system is a key goal of the Quality Growth Strategy. In 3 counties, voters approved a quarter-cent sales tax to raise millions of dollars for mass transit. And last year, the Utah Transit Authority purchased 170 miles of right-of-way for future transportation corridors. Building on these trends, Envision Utah is bringing together stakeholders in 8 communities situated around current and future transit stations.
I envision a region-wide transportation system taking me from home to work, shopping, and recreation.
The Quality Growth Strategy could allow as many as 600,000 people to live within walking distance of the public transportation system. By the end of this year, 38 Envision Utah Governor's Quality Growth Awards will have been given to projects that exemplify Envision Utah's strategies. These awards are proof that Envision Utah's goals are sound and practical.
I have been, I guess, a participant and observer of planning efforts all over the country through the Urban Land Institute, primarily, where I've been a trustee for 10 years. And I have to tell the folks from Utah that I don't know that I've ever seen a better effort at determining their future than they presented this evening. I think it's just extraordinary.
In 2002, the Worldwide Urban Land Institute presented Envision Utah with its Award for Excellence. And the American Planning Association honored Envision Utah with its Daniel Burnham Award, one of the nation's most prestigious planning awards. As Daniel Burnham says, make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood. By working together today, we can create our tomorrow. While communities have achieved much, more work remains. The future is not a gift, it is an achievement.
We must learn to act proactively for the good of the larger community. All of us are in this boat together. None of us can live in splendid isolation from anyone else. We've got to find better ways not only to tolerate each other, but rather to enjoy diversity in this state and to be enriched by it. We can't afford to divide into us versus them entities or factions. We are all literally members of the same family, and we live in the same neighborhood. We have to find ways to cooperate and live together.
Today, we are still pioneers and must decide how to protect the quality of life for our children and grandchildren. Envision Utah and you, working together to keep Utah beautiful, prosperous, and neighborly for future generations.